pen. Hello?
Hello, sir.
How are you? Yeah, sorry, I think it has some, we have some technical issues.
Oh, it's okay, sir.
Okay, now you are seeing my screen?
Yes, sir.
Nice, okay. Just let me. So again, it is known that the managers or management of companies are the main responsible of accounting practices within a company. Accounting practices include the accounting policies which have been chosen to prepare the financial statements of a company. So since we are talking about accounting policies or accounting policy choices, what is the accounting policy choice? Some I put some definitions. First one, we can say accounting policy choice implies managers' choice of one accounting method alternative over another for a specific transaction. Another definition of accounting choice is an accounting policy choice is any decision whose primary purpose is to influence, either in form or in substances, the output of accounting system in a particular way. And for sure you know that the output of the accounting system is the financial statements. Like for example, to put the things more clearly, assets depreciation transaction, because you know financial statements, to prepare financial statements, we have some transactions. Like for example, one of them, assets depreciation. And as you know, that assets depreciation has more than one method to be used. Like here in our situation, in this transaction, companies management find themselves in front of two methods. First one is a straight line method. The second one is accelerated method. But we need to know, or we need to understand what is the economic consequences of each method of this transaction. And here I put for you that straight line method, if a company's manager or if a managers or of a management of a companies, it shows straight line method. The economic consequences of a straight line method will what is the economic consequences of a straight line method? And the economic consequences is that this method will lead to increase the net income of the company. And the second one, a second method of this transaction, the accelerated method. And accelerated method, as you know, will lead or will result in to a net income. So as you see now, each transaction we face in a company, we need to choose which method we need to use to apply for it. So also we need to understand that each method has its economic consequences. Likewise, others, other transactions. Here I put some transactions, and for each transaction, we have more than one method. Like for a first example, I have said now, depreciation has two methods, straight line, accelerated method. Another example is trading securities. Trading securities has two methods. Here, managers of companies can choose to adopt fair value method or cost method. Likewise, available for sale securities, and likewise inventory, and so on for the rest of the transactions. But the point here is, like I put here in the slide, that each method of the transaction has its economic consequences. Like for second example, trading securities. If a company choose to adopt fair value, this fair value method will lead to increase the net income of the company. While if they choose cost method, as you know, will lead to income decreasing, or it will lead to decrease the net income of the company, and so on for all the transactions that companies by themselves need to prepare their financial statements. And second slide is about accounting strategy choice. Okay, what is the meaning of accounting strategy choice? Before I talk about accounting strategy choice, briefly, it is the same concept of accounting choice, but here when we are talking about accounting policy choice, we are talking about only one transaction. But you know, to prepare our financial statements, there is more than one transaction. Companies need to choose their or its methods. So when we are talking about set of accounting policies now, this means that we are talking about the accounting strategy. In other words, that accounting strategy implies managers' choice of a set of accounting policies for different transactions. For example, managers' choice a straight line method for depreciation, and choose FIFO method for inventory, and choose fair value method for trading securities, and so on to prepare companies' financial statements. So now we can differentiate between accounting policy choice and this concept about only one accounting policy. But when we are talking about a set of accounting policies, it means that we are talking about accounting strategy, or what is the strategy that managers adopt to prepare their accounting policies. Okay, as I mentioned now, that each accounting policy has its economic consequences, and so on. Each accounting strategy, or each company's accounting strategy has its economic consequences. And the importance of accounting policy or policies stems from the economic consequences. And what is the economic consequences? The economic consequences is a concept that asserts that accounting policy choice can affect fair value. Because you know, guys, that if I got let me back to the slide that show you each method has its economic consequences on financial statements. Like, for example, the example that I have mentioned now, the assets depreciation if a company has choose straight line method, this method will lead to increasing the net income of the company. And the second one, or the alternative one, is accelerated method. And as you see, straight line method will lead to increase the net income, and the second one will lead to decrease the net income. Okay, what after that? As you know, in markets or financial markets, investors are one of the important things they are looking for, that what is company, or how is company, how is company's profits and income. So if a company has, and this is the usual thinking about in people, that if a company's achieving profits, that will reflect in the company's share value. I mean, if a company achieving profits, this will be reflected in a company's stock in financial markets. And if the net income of the companies get down or decrease, this will reflect as a decrease in a company's share value. So, as I mentioned now again, the economic consequences is a concept that asserts that accounting policy choice can affect fair value, and tons, I think tons of papers have proved that accounting has effect on financial markets. And I think all of you have heard about that theory. We call it efficient theory or market efficient theory. Market efficient theory is related to our topic that mentioned, or that talked about, that accounting numbers have its effect on financial markets. So here, to complete, for instance, suppose that a company changes or choose to change from straight line depreciation policy to accelerated policy. Thus, the new policy will certainly affect the reported income. Okay. The previous slides that I have talked about now, all of these slides, it is just about introduction before I get into our topic, the positive accounting theory. Actually, it is important introduction, because you cannot understand the proposition of the positive accounting theory if you didn't get or didn't understand the introduction that I have said now. Here we have in accounting choices or accounting policy choice, we have a dilemma. What is the dilemma in that? Okay. The dilemma is that the potential opportunistic use of the accounting policies or accounting methods by managers to prepare financial statements. In other words, and this is kind of red flag in our field of study. In other words, managers can either maximize or minimize accounting results through choosing accounting policies. And this is clear for you now, because as I explain now, each accounting policy or accounting method has its impact on companies' financial statements. So as you see also that some of these methods has a positive impact, and others has a negative impact on net income. So now the dilemma is, as I mentioned, the dilemma is the opportunistic use of these policies or these methods. Or in other words, as I mentioned, that managers can either maximize or minimize accounting results through choosing accounting policies, hence affects the decision of financial statements users. Like who? Like investors. Okay, this is known in our literature, in the related literature, as an opportunistic proposition. Opportunistic proposition. So, under the opportunistic proposition, the most remarkable distinguished authors in our field, Watts and Zimmerman, developed what is known as positive accounting theory, PAT or PAT, PAT. This is the theory. This theory have been developed with the opportunistic proposition. And what is the objective of this theory? Because you know, guys, that each theory has its objective. What is the objective of this theory? The objective of positive accounting theory is to explain and predict accounting policies or practices, including accounting policy choices by managers. This is the objective of the positive accounting theory. And bear in mind, or just remember, don't forget that this theory was built based on the opportunistic use or the opportunistic behavior of managers. Okay, particularly, positive accounting theory predicts the opportunism of management in terms of adopting accounting policies or in terms of adopting accounting strategies. So here, under this proposition or under this theory, we can think or we can expect that managers act to maximize their own utilities or their own benefits. This is what positive accounting theory have mentioned. Okay, let us be more practical. This is theory, you know, theory, it's about general thinking. It's about some expectations. Okay, can we narrow down our concept to understand practically how it works? So also Watts and Zimmerman, the authors who developed this theory, which is positive accounting theory, suggest some economic factors representing the management incentive or the management incentives that influence managers' choices in favor to specific accounting policies, among others. These factors, and actually it is a three factors. This is the classic form of positive accounting theory, which is invented in 1980s, and still now it is valid till now. And we can say, or we will discuss or talk about this later. But let's back again to what is the main factors or economic factors in positive accounting theory that positive accounting theory has mentioned. These factors are considered, as I mentioned now, these factors are considered as the fundamental hypothesis of PAT or positive accounting theory. Okay, what are these factors? These factors include mainly three things it addressed. First one is policy plans, debt covenants, and political cost. I mean, or in other words, positive accounting theory has demonstrated that the main factors that affect managers of the companies to choose the methods of accounting policies to prepare in order to prepare the financial statements. Okay, for more detail about these three factors, first one, are you there, guys? Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice. First factor, is bonus plan, bonus plans for managers. Accounting theory indicates that managers of companies were employing bonus plans that constructed, the bonus plans that constructed based on accounting income performance indicators are more likely to choose accounting policies that lead to increase these indicators. Why? Actually, it happens. Again, positive accounting theory mentioned that, or Watts and Zimmerman, the inventors of this theory, indicates that the managers of companies were employing bonus plans. And these bonus plans, if these plans are constructed based on accounting income performance indicators, are more likely, more likely the managers of these companies are more likely to choose accounting policies or accounting strategy that lead to increase these indicators. Thus, they may able, this is the result. Thus, now I ask questions, why they do that? They do that because if they do that, they may able to increase their bonuses. Clear, simple. Since our bonus plans as a management of companies, since our bonus plans are tied to accounting indicators of a company, so as a benefit to me as a managers to hit these targets, or to even to make targets higher than the benchmarks of these indicators. So it's easy to me as a manager to hit these targets by manipulating or choose the accounting policies that help me as a manager to hit these targets. By doing so, I can increase my bonuses. This is the meaning of bonus plan factor that a positive accounting theory indicated. This is the first one, or first factor, economic factor that mentioned in positive accounting theory. Second factor, as I mentioned, second factor is called debt covenants. Debt covenants. Before I enter to debt covenants details, we need to understand what the meaning of debt covenants. Here I put some lines about it. Debt covenants are a kind of restrictions that lenders put on lending agreement to limit the actions of borrower. In other words, debt covenants are agreements between companies and its lenders that company will operate within certain rules set by the lenders. Like what kind of covenants here, for example, of these covenants, income level, ROA means our return on assets, dividend policy, interest coverage ratio. This is some of these covenants. Again, these covenants when companies find themselves, they need the money or to borrow money from banks. When they go there to try to get some funds from banks, the banks as a most popular lenders, they put these, or when they are signing the contracts, they put these covenants that most borrowers, I mean companies, achieve through their operation. So this is the meaning of debt covenant. Here, a question: what is the purpose of debt covenants? Debt covenants are not used to place a burden on the borrower. Rather, they are used to align, you understand me? To align the interest of principal and agent, as well as to solve agency problems between the managers or management and the holders or lenders, debt holders. So again, debt covenants, the purpose of the debt covenants is to align the interests between these parts, or the two parts. This is some information about debt covenants. Okay, let's back to the positive accounting theory. What positive accounting theory mentioned about this factor? Positive accounting theory indicates that managers of companies which are close to violating the debt covenants, I mean the debt constraints that constructed based on accounting numbers or accounting indicators, are more likely to choose, here, focus with me, are more likely to choose accounting policies that increase the related accounting indicators, like income level, like return on assets, like earning per share. Thus, in this situation, managers might be able to reduce the probability of technical default. Again, what positive accounting theory said about debt covenants. Now I think all of you have an idea about what is the meaning of covenant. Again, covenants means restrictions or kind of conditions the companies must achieve, or companies must hold on, or to achieve it. So positive accounting theory indicates that managers of companies which are close to violating the debt covenant or debt constraints, that debt covenants that constructed based on accounting numbers, are more likely to choose accounting policies that increase the related accounting or these accounting indicators. Thus, in this situation, managers will be able, or might be able, to reduce probability of technical default. The third factor that positive accounting theory mentioned is known in literature as a political costs. The political costs. Okay. Positive accounting theory indicates that the greater the political costs might be faced by companies due to its visibility. What the meaning of visibility? Visibility, it means like some companies have high profits or have, and in general, those companies which have high profits, in general, they considered as the biggest companies in economic of country, of course. So again, positive accounting theory says that, or indicates that, the greater the political costs might be faced by companies due to its visibility. Visibility means having profits. The more likely to choose accounting policies that decrease the net income of those companies in order to be less visible. Hence, differ political costs and avoid potential regulation, and thus increase their cash flows. Thus increase their cash flows. Political costs includes many things. Some of these things like taxes, some regulations against the just a minute, please. Again, political cost includes many things. Among these things, taxes, some actions from government against the monopoly, these kind of actions called in literature as a political costs. So again, briefly, companies, which the greater the political costs might be faced by companies due to its visibility, the more likely to choose accounting policies that decrease the net income in order to be less visible. Hence, differ political costs or even avoid these political costs. Thus, this will lead to increase their cash flows. Okay. More information about political costs. Large companies in general, those companies are under surveillance from many different sides. The most companies from one side, government agencies, unions, some labor unions, these kind of parties are looking or scrutiny large companies. So large companies are more exposed to competition and might be required to incur higher performance standards such as environmental and social responsibilities. Therefore, large companies are more likely to reduce their profitability. How they do that? Through adopting income decreasing accounting policies or accounting strategies in order to convince the relevant stakeholders like government or some stakeholders or competitors that companies' profit are suffering. This is kind of things happen in markets. Okay. Let us sum up our positive accounting theory concepts. Again, positive accounting theory, those guys, Watts and Zimmerman, invent or develop this theory based on opportunistic proposition. The opportunistic proposition. What is the meaning of the opportunistic proposition? The opportunistic proposition is a case or a situation that managers choose among the alternatives of accounting policies to achieve some goals. And in general, these goals might not help other stakeholders or shareholders. In general, these goals help managers to achieve their utilities or to achieve their benefits. This is the situation. So under this situation, the opportunistic use of accounting policies or methods, those guys have developed the positive accounting theory. And to be practical or technically, they mentioned main three factors, and actually these factors are considered as the classical factors in our fields. But after that, as I mentioned, this theory have been developed in 1980s, have been developed through the time. But these main factors considered the main factors in our literature or in accounting literature. What are these factors? These factors, it's about three main things: bonus plans, debt covenants, political cost. Okay. Where positive accounting theory, where it is developed where, and mainly this theory have been developed in USA context, economic. So after Watts and Zimmerman introduced their theory literature or to the world, I mean, a lot of remarkable authors, but I mentioned some of them like Hagerman, Skinner, and Bowen, addressed the credibility of positive theory assumptions within US context, where the positive accounting theory is invented by examining the influence of bonus plans, debt covenant, and political cost on companies' income accounting strategy choice. And all of them, and there are more than them, those people, those guys or researchers, authors, they find that positive accounting theory explains US companies' income accounting strategy choice. What I mean by explains, I mean, as I mentioned, positive accounting theory predicts the opportunistic use to achieve some goals by managers, and they find evidence. Those authors and those authors among the top authors around the world, they find supported evidence that yes, positive accounting theory valid within these within US context. Okay, what about its validity internationally? The validity of this theory internationally has been tested on several different economic environments and over different periods of time. For example, in developed countries such as Japan, European Union, Canada have been tested. Also in developing countries, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Tanzania, Nigeria, and even in Palestine, I tested this theory. And this is, there is a strong consensus about its validity in literature. This means that this theory, and actually I support this theory because this theory, in fact, to sum up, this theory predicts the opportunistic use of accounting policies by, or accounting practices by managers. And if we look about, or if we look in general in the situation in some countries, even in developed countries like USA, there is USA, UK, and European Union, all of us for sure in some time have heard about some crisis, financial crisis in this economics, developed economics, and all of them, almost all of these crises, the behind this situation is the opportunistic behavior of managers. So this kind of theory help us to understand more how CEOs or how the managers of companies are acting to run their companies. This is very important to us. If we understand this situation, or how they are behaving or running their businesses, then we can control the situation. Okay. What about some research? I just here in this slide, I'm trying to give you some ideas, my students. These ideas, I think it's good to start to think about it. this kind of idea, you can start to read about it, to prepare your research projects, or even if you are master degree. Actually, I'm not sure if you are a master or a PhD or a bachelor degree student. Anyway, if you are one of them, I think it's good to have a look of this idea and start to think about it, or try to start your research paper about these topics. Here I mentioned some of these ideas. The topic is broader than that. It is, you need to read more about some articles from top journals. This help you to broaden your understanding and so on. So here some ideas of research, like for example, we can examine the validity of positive accounting theory to explain income accounting strategy choice within Indonesian context. Actually, I did a quick research about this topic, whether in Indonesia have Indonesian context, if they tried, I mean, Indonesian researchers have been tried to examine the validity of positive accounting theory to explain the accounting practices in their sectors. So actually, I didn't find. So it is a good idea to start to think about this topic. Also, another topic you can start to think about it, examine the impact of corporate governance on income accounting strategy choice within Indonesian context. As you see, guys, that, okay, positive accounting theory, it is about, or it is about the opportunistic use of accounting policies. And here is the point. Since we are talking about the opportunistic use or opportunistic proposition to use accounting practices, then as a remedy, we need to address some remedies, like, for example, corporate governance. Corporate governance, it is supposed to be a tool to solve this kind of issues, the opportunistic use of accounting practices. So here in point number 2, I suggest you a topic to start, or to start to think about it, to do or prepare your paper. Examine the impact of corporate governance on income accounting strategy choice within Indonesian context, or you can choose another context if you're interested to do this research in other context. Yeah, it is, you can do many different contexts to choose, or to be more specific about some about some sectors, like in point number 3, if you see, most previous, and this is real, that most of the previous studies that I have read, most of the previous studies have been conducted within non-financial context. Here, based on this point, we got a gap. I mean by this point, number 3, there is a little studies have addressed this positive, or have addressed positive accounting theory in financial sectors, like banks. I mean by financial sectors, like banks, like insurance companies, and like I'm not sure what is the situation in Indonesia, but there is a kind of financial companies. I think it is non-financial, some financial companies. So within this context, I think it's important to address this situation, or the validity of positive accounting theory, to explain the accounting policies within some specific economic or some specific sectors, like financial sectors. Other ideas related to our other ideas also important, I think it is important ideas of research: earnings management, earnings smoothing, and conservatism. These main three, or those three topics are considered as applications of positive accounting theory. It's kind of applications of these positive accounting theory, because these factors, or these topics, they are based on accounting choices, accounting policy choices, accounting choices. I mean, it has some of I think it has some, or it is related to accounting policy choices. So since it has choices, since it has choices, then we are talking about expected opportunistic behavior of managers. So I also strongly recommend you to start think about earning, especially the first one, earnings management, because the first one and the third one among the hottest and topics in our field: earnings management, conservatism. Those are still until now topics under studying. A lot of researchers around the world till now try to find some solutions and engage in some research related to these topics: earnings management, earnings smoothing, and conservatism. So within companies can be addressed based on positive accounting theory framework. Okay, to give some information about the first one, I think the first one is earnings management. We need to just give you some brief explanation about earnings management, since earnings management is kind of accounting policy choices. It is a kind of accounting choices. Earnings management. What is the definition of earnings management? Simply, earnings management uses accounting policies to manipulate. Earnings management uses accounting policies to manipulate financial statements to improve a company's reported earnings. So as you see, earnings management include what I have discussed: accounting choice, accounting policy choices. But here, the intention or the objective of this is not good. Or it is harmful to the company. And we call it in literature, it is called in literature earnings management. This can be done, or how it is done. I mean, the earnings management. This can be done in various ways, such as changing revenue recognition, adjusting expenses, or the worst one is manipulating reserves. While some forms of earnings management may be legal and legitimate, others can be fraudulent and misleading. And here is a red flag. Most of earnings management practices are harmful. Most of them are misleading, fraudulent. Some of them, and they are, I think, little. It's not, in fact, it's not a general case, but it is some cases earnings management considered as a good practice. Now, and if in the coming slides, we can give more ideas about it. Okay. Why do we need to understand earnings management? Because investors rely on financial statements to make informed decisions about whether to invest in a company or not. Also, earnings management is not always intentional or harmful. I mean, companies may sometimes manage earnings to manage expectations or meet financial targets. So we need, as a researchers or as people belong to accounting and even in finance fields, we need to understand. We need to understand the earnings management, all things about earnings management. Okay, what is the techniques or what is the most popular techniques among earnings management practices? Actually, earnings management has a lot of techniques have been used in real life. But here I will discuss or just give some information about 3 of these techniques. First technique and the most popular one known in literature as the Big Bath earnings management technique. Big Bath earnings management technique. What is that? Or what is this technique? It is a strategy. It is a strategy companies use to ascribe losses or costs to a one-time occurrence. And companies use these techniques to reduce current year earnings and make future earnings appear more favorable. You see, it is a kind of choices. Managers of the companies do it in their companies in order to achieve some goals. Like here, it's clear. They resort to this technique in order to reduce current year earnings and to make future earnings appear more favorable. This kind of practice give to the investors an impression that the management of these companies are good, but in fact, they are not doing good. They are just shifting some numbers from one year to another, from one period to another, just to give false impression about their level or their performance. Another technique, second technique, also it is popular in literature, accounting literature, cookie jar reserves earning management technique. It is a form of income smoothing, where a company intentionally overestimate its expenses during good financial years and underestimates them during bad financial years. This kind of a practice allows companies to show steady earnings growth, which is favorable to investors and shareholders. You see, these kind of practices will give the investors impression that the company is doing good, and this is really danger. Third one, also among the popular practices of earnings management, noted as real earnings management, or you can find another name, that operating activities earning management technique, and technical name of it like real earnings management. Real earnings management slightly different from the first 2 techniques. Real earnings management schedules events to flatten revenue and eliminate accounting period fluctuations. They are trying here in this situation, managers of companies are trying to resort to these techniques to control the fluctuation. You understand the fluctuation, some points are getting high, some points of the performance getting down. So fluctuations, it is known in literature as fluctuations. So earnings, real earnings management, it's kind of a practice that based on it, they schedules events to flatten revenue and eliminate accounting periods fluctuations. So companies use these techniques to manage their earnings by differing or accelerating revenue and expenses. Doing so can shift profits from one period to another, making their financial performance appear smoother, good, and more consistent. You see? Again, earnings management techniques, it is a kind of accounting choices. Since managers of companies has the position to choose among the policies, accounting policies, to prepare their accounting financial statements. So here is the incentive. This situation can create incentives to managers to manipulate their financial statements. So again, we have three popular practices or techniques of earnings management. It's Big Bath earnings management technique, cookie jar reserve earnings management technique. Last one is operating activities earnings management techniques. Factors that can contribute to earnings management. I mean, contribute, make it worse more, or who's the parts that contribute this kind of practice? Because as you know, or I think as you understand now, this kind of practice is harmful to company in general way. Yes, there's some cases earnings management has a good or has a benefit to company, but the overwhelming of these practices are harmful to the company. It's kind of manipulation. Okay, what is the factors that can contribute to earnings management? Executive compensation structure. Executive compensation structures can create incentives to managers, to CEOs of companies to practice earning management. And this have been addressed by positive accounting theory, the first factor. Second one, lenders pressure like banks, financial companies. And this is number two here, is mentioned in positive accounting theory as a debt covenant. I mean, the lenders pressure, they can create incentive to managers to practice earnings management. Also, pressure from investors or analysts. Also, they might create incentives to managers to practice earnings management. And community agencies pressures. Some community agencies, like for example, government agencies, trade and labor unions, those kind of agencies or bodies of agencies in a country might create incentives to managers of those companies to practice earnings management. And last, competitive pressures. Sometimes competitive pressure can create as well pressure on managers to practice the earnings management. Consequences of earnings management. The consequences of earnings management. Legal and regulatory penalties. Companies, I mean here, companies which practiced or involved in such practices may face legal and regulatory penalties from governments, such as fines, sanctions, or criminal charges. Also, damage the reputation, decrease shareholders' value because it is harmful practice, would affect negatively the performance of a company and the value of its share in financial markets. Number four, increased risk of financial distress. 5, loss of employee morale. 6, decreased investors' confidence. 7, increased regulatory scrutiny. 8, decreased access to capital. 9, damage to industry reputation. Here I can say I think I finished my lecture for today, and actually it's not enough 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours of explaining about this theory and its applications through research, but at least I put you some or I explain some of them, and I think it is important things that I have explained here or discussed here with you guys, and I strongly recommend you to start read about these topics in literature and start from good journals to gain more knowledge, to start to think about your topic in your research paper or your project. So that's for today, and terima kasih, and thank you for listening, guys. Nabila?
All right, thank you, sir. Maybe we can go to the next session. The next session is question and answer. For the participant, if you have any question, you can raise your hand and ask the doctor.
Please, Nabila, could you close the mic to your? I cannot hear you well.
Oh, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I hear you. Just raise your voice a little bit.
Okay, sir. Maybe we can next to the next agenda. The next agenda is question and answer session. For the participant, if you have any question, you can raise your hand. Maybe I want to ask you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. My question is how opportunistic and efficiency perspective of positive accounting differs? Can you hear me, sir?
Again, please.
My question is how opportunistic and efficiency perspective of positive accounting differs. Sorry.
Okay, positive accounting theory. It's all about, or it is just about opportunistic behavior of managers to choose accounting or to adopt accounting practices in their companies. But there is some or other authors say that not all accounting practices are opportunistic use. Some of them say that no, some companies or some authors mentioned that there is an efficient use, and not all cases are opportunistic cases to use accounting policies. But still, I'm talking about the majority. The majority of the asked, or the majority used of, or the majority of authors that wrote about this topic, they all consensus that they are the use of, or the use of accounting practices are opportunistic, or are in opportunistic way or form of to prepare their account financial statements. But still, yes, with you, there is others say that no, there is this kind of practices has some benefits, like for example, to give a good picture about their performance, company performance, or to achieve some goals of some goals of some stakeholders, and so on. I think that, but I'm not sure if I really answer your question or not, because to somehow this is what I got from your question.
Thank you, sir, for the answer.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Maybe we can, for the other participant, if you have any question, you can raise your hand.
Please, question. Nabil, I'm wondering, are you PhD or master degree or bachelor degree students? I mean the class.
Oh, all of the participant in here is bachelor degree, sir.
Bachelor degree, okay. Nice to meet you, all of you.
Yes. Once again, for the participant, if you have any question, you can raise your hand, or maybe you can put the question in the chat box.
Actually, yes. Maybe this topic little bit is sophisticated for bachelor degree students, but I think it's good. Yeah, that's why I see no one trying to ask question, and it's okay actually. Yes, this is okay. It's not bad. But the thing is, it's good from this time. I mean, at a bachelor degree, start to have a look on some sophisticated topics. This will lead you to understand or broaden your understanding of some real situation in life. So I think it's okay. We can arrange another meeting to discuss, if you would like to discuss some related topics. Actually, yeah, I'm very happy to share with you my experience, to share with you my knowledge. This is good, because sharing is caring. It is known, sharing is caring. So I have and really I was happy, because in past 3 or 5 years I have opportunity to visit Indonesia. Really, it was a wonderful, amazing time I had there in Jakarta. So hope I can visit you, and we can start think or start to do some projects with you guys, research projects, I mean.
All right, sir. So we can continue to the next session.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thanks to Dr. Europol for the attractive material, also for the ideas, for the suggestion for the research, ideas research, and hopefully it can help the audience to have a better understanding of positive accounting theory and research. Okay, now we are turning to the last agenda, which is closing. As the master of ceremony, I do apologize for any mistakes during this event. Finally, I say thank you. And before leaving this event, kindly please everyone turning on your camera because we want to take a picture.
Okay. Nabila, no voice, no voice.
Thank you for joining this event and see you on the next event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nice to meet you guys. Terima kasih.
Thank you, sir.